Hey, BassGeek here, and I know you guys have heard of the marabou jig. Well, we've been fishing hair jigs for a long time, and we do things a little bit differently. Yeah, winter hair jigs, and you notice what I store mine is the Flambeau Zerus Max box. Keeps those hooks from rusting on you, so you got your baits a lot longer. So now what I'm going to show you today about winter hair jigs isn't your traditional swim it along the bottom. We're going to kind of do that a little bit, but this is more about fishing that hair jig in a lot of different ways, really being diverse with it. And these winter hair jigs, if you see all this around me, can be fished on any of this all winter long, and they are super subtle fish catching machines. So let me talk to you about some of my favorite hair jigs right off the bat. Now, this is a Del Hollow Punisher. This is a 1/2 ounce. This is not something I'm going to swim. And a lot of times what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off just right here behind the hook, and then I'm going to match it up with some sort of trailer. Now, this is I think a speed crawl. I can't really remember, guys. But anyway, something that doesn't have a lot of action to it. You know, this is going to have a little bit of action on the fall, which the smallmouth tend to love. But this, I think, is the camo version. Great color, 1/2 ounce head, good weed guards, and I'll show you how I fish this and how we fish this a little bit differently here in just a second. This is much more of a traditional jig. It's just way more subtle because of the hair. Now I'm going to show you, really, these are like my super finesse. Now I don't remember who makes these. These were either fuzz baits, I believe, and these are great. Traditionally, they are what's called a floating fly jig. I don't do a lot of floating fly fishing, but I can show you another way I fish it. We'll talk about that in just a second. This is an 1/8 ounce. Again, kind of my go-to here. I don't remember who makes this, but I'll sure make sure that we get this in the description for you guys. I want to say this is a Sea-Doos, but I may be wrong. And again, you'll notice, especially when I'm fishing these little finesse, I'll cut that end off. It really makes it flare up. Looks like a great little bait. Now, this is a Cumberland Pro Lures. I don't know if they still make this with the little underspin on there, but you can see you can pretty much put a little blade on the back of, and it's really a good idea, like some of those VMCs. It's got the little blade on the back. That's another great one. Cumberland Pros does make, it's called the Pro Rock Hound. This is kind of my go-to right here, and these along with it. And I don't put trailers on these because I want these to be as finessey as I can get them. All right, so when it comes to wintertime hair jigs, let me explain something to you. There's two rod and reel combos that I like to fish. There is my traditional jig rod, what I call my sort of my casting jig rod. And what I mean by that is I'm not flipping with this rod. I'm just kind of casting out and hopping a jig around in whatever cover, you know, kind of like down this bank that there is in front of me. That is coupled with a Helios XS by Akuma, and they don't make those anymore. So again, I will put a comparable reel in the description, something that I would use if not for having this. Now, the rod that I use for this is the TFO Tactical Elite Bass. This is a 7.3 heavy fast action rod. Just a great looking rod. Really, really great sensitive rod. Love the stainless steel. You know, you don't have to worry about the ceramics popping out of them, you know, like you do with a lot of rods. I'm a big fan of the stainless steel eyes. So again, K9, 15-pound test. During the winter time, I will go down to 12. But that's about it when it comes to this, because you're going to fish this very much like a traditional jig. All right, let me show you the next combo. All right, this is the next combo. This is my lighter jig. Really super finesse. But this is my Lose. This is one of their highest end spinning reels. And let me tell you, it is well worth it. I love these. Probably my favorite spinning reel out there. I've got it coupled with a TFO, Tactical Elite Bass. This is 7-1 medium light. So you can get down to about an 1/8 ounce with this. You can actually throw a lot lighter. It does say it's fast, but I'm going to say moderate fast. Again, great looking rod. Love the wind grips here on the handles. Just a well-made rod. And of course, always, I've got my pink, and I'm slowly moving over on my spinning reels because you can see that better than the yellow. So I'm going with my pink K9 braid. And of course on here, as you can see also somewhere here, I've got the 6-pound fluorocarbon. 100% Pro 100, 100% fluorocarbon by K9. It's good stuff, guys. Try it out. So when it comes to this jig, you know, the 1/2 ounce standard, putting the trailer on, basically you're fishing it just like any other jig in the wintertime. You know, what I'm going to do is I'm really going to target, you know, points, bluffs, humps, and again, I'm going to fish it on the bottom just like I would any other jig. I'm going to come out and I'm going to reel down to about that 9 o'clock, and I'm just going to drag, not going past that 10:30, 11. Never getting my rod out of position to be able to set the hook. I mean, it's that simple in the wintertime. And the great thing about this bait is you want to let it sit. This is a bait you want on the coldest days or after cold fronts, because what it's doing is it's sitting there and those hairs are just moving ever so subtly on the bottom. Now, a great place you can see that I'd also love to fish is right down through here, which this point turns into a bluff wall. And so on a bluff wall, remember what I say, I'm going to get at a 45 until I know what depth those bass are in. Then I'm going to put my boat in that depth level and stay there and keep that bait in that strike zone depth as much as I possibly can. Now we start talking about our finesse styles. And yeah, you can go down like riprap right over there would be a great place to swim this bait. This little bit of a flat area right over here, it flattens out, would be a great place to swim it. But during the winter time, at least on my lakes, I'm looking for points. Now, this point I wished had a little more rock. You can see it's a lot of shell. For whatever reason, bass love shell where I'm at. And we're going to tight line it. If you haven't seen that video, make sure you go. But this is just another option. So what you're going to do is you're going to make that cast out there. And what I like to do first is just let that bait fall to the bottom. Now, once it's on the bottom, I'm watching my line, and I'm just going to pick it up, and I'm going to barely shake my tip. I'll make sure you guys can see this. I'm going to barely shake my tip, and I'm going to reel real slow. And basically, I don't want this bait hitting the bottom. I want to keep it just off the bottom. So again, what you're going to do with this, I want to make sure you see this, how I'm doing the reel. I like to throw it out there and just let it sink just to the bottom. Then I'm going to reel up, give it a good pop, and you can see I'm just twitching that rod tip and just barely moving that reel. And every once in a while, I'll check it. You want it to pendulum back to you. And I like to stay at a 45 again until I know the depth that the bass are in. But that tends to be how I like to fish a finesse jig. Like I said, you can swim it, and basically that's what you're doing, you're swimming it. But I'm really just keeping that rod tip at about 10 o'clock, keeping that bait just off the bottom. One of the tips I give in my tight lining video is that if you don't touch bottom every once in a while, you're reeling too fast. And if you stay on the bottom, you're reeling too slow. All right, guys, that is how I love, and you can catch some big ones doing this. I know it doesn't look like a big fish catching machine, but during the wintertime, I'm telling you, it is. Using both of these techniques, like I said, there'll be links in the description for any and all of the equipment that you can go pick up, or the jigs themselves will be down there. This is a very great, very finesse, really great for those cold days during the winter time. This is the types of jigs that I reach for every time we get hit by a cold front or we get that temperature drop that lowers the temperature for, you know, the rest of the winter time until we start going into spring. Great technique. Like I always say, questions, comments in the comment section below, guys. You know I love to talk about fishing with you. Hey, ring that bell. Make sure you ring that bell, that is, so you get the notifications. The 100% Watch Squad, the best way to support the channel. Like it if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And as always, you guys rock.